Hi, today I would like to walk you through two sprints, the sprint 4 and sprint 5. This goes, um, so we have sprint 5, which goes back to the 25th of March when that was released, and this week we released sprint 4, and this week we released sprint 5 on the 16th of April. I'll be walking you through the different items in the release notes so you can catch up on what's been added or improved in Talexio. As always, you have the What's New button in the product itself where you can access these release notes and find out and read more also on the articles uh, for more information. I'll jump straight in. Sprint 4. The release highlights are some speed improvements, employee documents, some new functionality there, and also improved functionality in the performance management module. But I'll go into details. The first feature on that list is the ability to log in with Google. So as a company, you can now switch on this setting called Enable Google Login. It's available in the system settings. Thereafter, your employees will be able to press login with Google. And if the email address of the Google Workspace matches the email address of your company, then they'll be able to log into their account through single sign-on. This saves you um, the management of passwords in Talexio as you would for normal accounts. We already have this available for Office 365. As of this release, it's available also for Google Login. There's the usual constant improvements when it comes to system speed. So we're looking at that as we onboard new clients, where we're making sure that the system um, is as fast as can be. We have improved the user experience of the quick search. So at the top here, first off, there's a cosmetic improvement in how this looks. It looks better basically now, and the search over there. And also in the applicant tracking system section, for those of our clients who are using the applicant tracking system, we now have the ability to search, the quick search, to search more specifically into a certain part of your database, whether it's candidates, companies, contacts, or vacancies. So this makes things a bit um, more efficient for you to access. That's the quick search. Employee documents can now be renamed. So if you go to the employee documents section on any of your employees, you now have the ability to change the file name of any of your files. So by default, they're uploaded with the file name, their original file name, but you now have the ability to press edit and change that file name. You cannot change the extension, of course, but you can change the file name. There's some new placeholders in the template documents when you generate contracts from Talexio. You can now choose whether you can now pull from the system whether the employment is full-time or not. In performance reviews, there's 3 improvements here. One around what happens when you save draft reviews. They don't automatically close, so you can keep working. And there's 2 other improvements here to the score summary per competency categories and to objectives. Let me show you what those are. I'll go back into the system. If I go to the performance review section, you will now notice that besides the overall score, which has always been up there, when you're creating a review or when you're finalizing it, you will also have a score by competency category down here. The final score is built based on that information, but you can now quickly, even while you're editing, see that score change as you're making the changes. So that's pretty useful. In the objectives section, we've had parent and child objectives for quite a while, but it's now easier to access those and to filter. So I can see only the parent objectives if I want to, and these columns have also received some improvement in how things are displayed. Cosmetic improvements, but they improve things for our users. Announcements, they load faster in the system as well. We have also improved how clockings are linked to work locations. We have a feature where you can disable a work location so that it's no longer available in drop-downs. With this update, the disabled locations are really disabled and they don't even, uh, they're not factored in when linking clockings, new clockings, they don't get linked to those locations because those locations are no longer active. The PDF version of the payroll report has been improved when you have too many columns. In the past, these columns would fall off out of the page, they wouldn't fit. Now it has been improved so that those definitely always fit. If you don't have too many columns, nothing has changed, but if you have many, now they will fit. And finally, in this particular release, we have the requestable allowances, an improvement to the requestable allowances. I'll explain what that is. So we've always had this feature of allowing users to submit an allowance request. Could be a request for um, a refund of fuel, for example. Um, with those requestable allowances, it is now possible to give your employees a downloadable template of some file. Maybe you have an Excel file that you want them to upload when they submit an allowance request. You were already able to allow them to upload a PDF or a scanned document, but now you can give them an attachment yourself so that they can fill that in, right, and then send it back in. So that's builds into the allowance request features. Allowance request eventually can be approved and they go into payroll. So that's what is possible with the existing features there. I'll head straight on to Sprint 5, which went live this week. The highlights here are an improvement to the roster, a new way of viewing your own roster. I'll explain in a second. Custom fields can now be uploaded in bulk. Document permissions by data category. I'll explain very soon. And you can now link contracting companies to your third-party contractors. Let's jump into more detail. Custom fields, it wasn't possible before this release to upload them in bulk. Let's say you need to upload all your, let's say you have a custom field called number plate, where you store this piece of information. In the past, you needed to edit each one manually if you want to change them all. Now there's an ability to bulk upload those. There's some new columns in the people report, nothing special. This one's pretty interesting. So the employee documents permission now supports an additional layer of granularity. When you're assigning this permission to someone, you have the means to select. So everything is still what it used to be, but now you have this option to select which data categories you want to um, give this permission on. Maybe you just want your managers to be able to see the contract and disciplinary documents, let's say that. You save that, and those people who get this permission will only get access to certain documents, not all the documents. So you're restricting by data category. Maybe you don't want to give them the pay slips, for example. So that's a bit more granularity in the access rights there. Um, Performance management, even in this release, there was some improvements to how things load. We're constantly looking at the entire system, the usage, to see where we should optimize. The exciting new view in the T&A section is called My Schedule. So if I go in time and attendance working schedule, now there's a new option called My Schedule that allows you to see only your schedule, and this works really well on a mobile device. So the primary reason this was added is for mobile, but it also has some utility on desktop. In the past, if you were looking at the monthly view, you could only see it horizontally like this, and you needed to click on certain shifts to see what's in them. If I go to my schedule and I go to a month where I have some information, I can see this in a vertical list. You have the dates and the shifts with all their information right away. This works really well on mobile, so this is quite beneficial to have for most employees who want to quickly see their own schedule. If you're on the current month when you're browsing this, the past dates are automatically filtered out, so you see coming shifts, but you can easily click this toggle to see them all. All right, so that's a an important improvement in the time and attendance check section. We'll be collecting feedback on this in the coming days. It's a new view. So we can further improve this as we go along. Work codes. We've had work codes since day one of Talexio, where you could link a punch-in event with a work code so that you get a different rate for that type of work. It is now possible for the person creating the roster to link the work code to the shift. So the employee does not need to pick a work code, but any time worked against that shift would be paid with the special work code rate. There is some new review and approve options for how time is reflected in based whether it's based on the shift or not, whether it's overtime or not. These settings are available in the employment T&A settings. And down here we have the first option is the default option, which everyone has been using to date. Now we have two more options. The first option uses the shift time, only the shift time, to determine whether time is basic or overtime. The second option uses the shift time to determine whether it's basic or overtime, but within job schedule limits. So you could have 8 days of basic on Monday, 8 hours of basic on Monday, 8 hours of basic and 2 hours of overtime on Tuesday. But as soon as you reach your basic hours limit based on your job schedule, any extra time will fall as overtime. With the third option, we ignore the shift time. You're telling the system, I don't want to allocate overtime on a daily basis. I just want to look at the entire week and determine overtime based on all the approval of that week. So in that case, it ignores the shift time and it determines overtime based on the quota of your job schedule. As soon as you reach 40 hours, anything after would be overtime. So those are those three options. There's more information about how these work in the support center, of course. So you can reach out to us for some more information on that. Third-party contractors, also an interesting new feature. We've always had the ability to mark an employee as a third-party contractor. Many of our clients use this to allow contractors to use Talexio and collect timings or other information, everything in Talexio. It is now possible to link a contracting company to the third-party contractor. So you could say that mark is provided by company A or company B. That is done also in the employment information. When you say someone is a third-party contractor, you are now able to choose from your own list of contracting companies. That list of contracting companies is managed from the settings section, where you can easily add as many contracting companies as you need. There's some new columns and a new column in the timesheet report, which gives you the day name. So Thursday, Monday, Tuesday. You can see this in the reports for quicker analysis. In the payroll section, we've added totals to date on the payroll report when it's grouped by cost center. So it's a bit more totals to date by cost center. So it's a bit more useful in seeing that information. And finally, in the applicant tracking system, especially when you're using the free version of our applicant tracking system, which comes with Jobs in Malta, we are now showing a message to clarify when some candidates are no longer available to you or in the database because of the GDPR settings. So the GDPR settings automatically clear some data which you shouldn't keep after a certain amount of time. This is now reflected in the system with the appropriate message. That's it in these two releases. It was a long list of improvements. I hope you find these interesting and useful to you. If ever you have any more questions or feedback on any of these features, please reach out through our support channels. Thank you very much.